I think I've cracked the code to deal with every sort of anxious thought ever. Every time you want to overthink, every time you ever want to have an intrusive thought, every time you have the fear of a symptom happening again, every spiral that you go down, this could very much cure it forever. And if this is something I had learned 10 years ago when I had anxiety, it would have saved me so much mental suffering. So hopefully, I will break it down for you guys today. I'm talking about is something called TAP, right? So everyone's heard of, like, maybe not everyone's heard of, but everyone's familiar with Dr. Daniel Amen's six-step question framework of automatic negative thoughts, which is like, is it true? How do I feel? What's the outcome? How would I feel if I didn't have this thought XYZ? Now, mostly I've realized to actually apply that framework in real time, it's a little too long. It's sometimes a little bit complicated. So you don't really have the time to go through all of the steps to actually rewire that anxious thought. So I spent a little bit of time. I was like, how can I make this so simple for people to understand? So I made a framework called TAP, and no one's ever done this. I made this myself. That I think if you just follow this three-step framework to actually rewire every single thought, it will work wonders for you. So TAP stands for truth, awareness, pivot. Okay? This is how you go from fear to peace. Now, what I mean by truth is it true? I'll be getting into detail of what every step means later on anyway. Awareness, which is kind of like where do I feel it in my body? How do I feel about it? Bringing some mindfulness to the emotion behind the thought or story. And then pivot, where you notice the opposite of that thought or emotion, and then exploring the sensation of that somatically within your body. So if we go into truth, so let's say you have a thought that's been driving you crazy. It makes you want to crawl out of your skin. Let's say you were having a good week and then out of nowhere you had this anxiety symptom pop up. And then you're like, oh my God, is my anxiety coming back? Is it going to be bad the next week? Am I done forever? What if it happens again? This is this is circulating your mind and it's just driving you crazy, right? The first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is the truth about this thought? So let's say it's like, oh my God, I'm going to have this panic attack on the holiday and it's going to ruin the holiday. And let's say I have Spain coming up. Okay, cool. Well, have you actually got on the plane, lived 2 weeks, came back from the holiday to then judge, okay, this has ruined my holiday because of this panic attack? Or is that actually just something that doesn't actually exist yet? Right? Well, it's not true because you haven't. Last I checked, you didn't build a time machine to go into the future and come back. So it's not true. So just like a detective looks for clues, like if there's a murder scene, a detective, before he comes to any sort of conclusion, he's going to look at the crime scene, murder weapon, the witnesses, the alibis, check those out before he makes any type of conclusion. He looks at the proof first. So before you go in a spiral, before you overthink, like, what if this happens? I should have done that. I shouldn't have done this. Ask yourself, what is the proof of this narrative, of this story that you're telling yourself? So, the second thing is awareness, where you actually ask yourself a question of, where do you feel it in your body? It's kind of like if I asked you, hey, think of something really happy, right? And like the happiest thing that's happened in the last 6 months. Where would you feel that emotion in your body? So it's the same thing with the negative emotion. Like, where do I feel this in my body? Is it in my chest? Is it in my belly? Is it in my back? Is it in my shoulders? And guess what's crazy? You've had this emotion countless times, but most of you probably have not taken 30 seconds, 2 minutes to actually slow down, pause, and notice where you feel it in your body. So do that first. The same way you're looking for something in a dark room, you flip on the light and then you look and locate it. If you're stumbling around in the dark, right, it's going to take you ages to find it. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're trying to figure it out by looking for it in the dark. So turn on the light in your body. Where do I feel it? And when you notice where you feel it, like you actually locate the body part. Oh, it's in my chest. Where in my chest is it? Is it above my chest? Lower, like in the lower portion of my chest? Like, where do I actually feel it? And what's the quality of the sensation? Is it a tightening? Is it a vibrating? Is it cold? Is it warm? Actually notice the quality of the sensation. And bonus points if you want to be a really smart cookie name it to tame it, which means you actually call it out. Like when you see your friend, you call out their name, call out the emotion, call out the thought. It's like, oh, I feel something in my chest. I feel something in my belly. I feel tightness here. I'm aware of it. When you name it, you create awareness just by doing it, because to name it, you have to notice it, right? So when you name them, it doesn't feel as big or scary. Now, the final part, and probably the most important step, so if you take nothing from this, try and remember this, which is pivot, which is what is the opposite of this feeling. So we've covered T, which is truth, we've covered A, which is awareness, and then we have P. Did I just do the middle finger by accident? We have P, right, which is pivot, which is, okay, if I didn't have this thought, if I didn't have this emotion, how would I feel then? So let me give you an example, right? So let's say it's I have an interview coming up and I'm scared shitless for it. I'm like, oh my god, what if I fail? What if this happens? Okay, well, if I wasn't scared, what would the opposite of that doubt feel like? Well, I'd probably feel a lot more relaxed. I'd probably feel more confident, positive. Okay, cool. And what would that feel like? Like that actual emotion, where do you feel it? So it's like if I ask you, hey, in the last 6 months, what's the best thing that's ever happened to you in the last 6 months? You could probably pinpoint one moment. It could be your birthday. It could be you getting a present. It could be you have this sort of big win. If you spend some time, you take 30 seconds, you could probably think of the thing that you're like, yep, in the last 6 months, this was really good thing that happened. Like that day was a good day. When you think back to that day, your mind will literally like feel the emotions of that day. Even though that day is in the past, even though that moment has already passed, your mind will literally still think of it. That's what's crazy, because through real neuroscience, real visualization, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's actually happening and what's real. So it's kind of like if you're watching a movie and you don't know that the movie isn't real, your brain actually thinks it's happening. That's why you're so emotionally connected to the characters, even though they're just paid actors. Right? I didn't mean to ruin movies. But regardless, and just really another really interesting study about this, there was two groups of people. One group of people actually went to the gym and exercised. The second group of people just had intense visualizations where they pretended that they were actually exercising. They imagined themselves lifting the weights, running on the treadmill, burning the calories, being out of sweat. And guess what's crazy? Both groups lost fat and both groups built muscle. No, I'm not saying, oh, never go to the gym again because I can just think about going to the gym. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just showing you how powerful the brain is. So humor yourself. Okay, if I didn't have this fear, or I didn't have this thought, or I didn't have this emotion, how would I feel? What would that feel like? And just see if you can do the same thing that you did with the negative emotion, the A step, the same thing. Okay, where in my body do I feel it? What's the quality? Is it like a joyful feeling, a warm feeling, a fuzzy feeling? What does it actually feel like? So this is kind of like you're changing the radio. So right now the radio is on the fear, the thought. And if you don't like the song, you just turn the radio station, right? If you don't like the TV show you're watching, you just put on a different TV show. Think of that like changing the channel of the thought, of the emotion. Because when you switch to a happy thought, guess what happens? Your body responds and you feel better. And you do this enough times over and over and over again, your brain will start focusing on this over the negative thought. Because at the moment, the only thing you're doing is focusing on the negative thought or the negative emotion. And it's no surprise that that ruins our day or that paints the picture of our mood, right? So every time you have a thought, tap it. Truth, awareness, pivot. Love you. You guys got this.